Because over the last 20, 30 years, what has happened is antibiotics have entered our food systems.
How?
So, at least in the US, and I'm sure that's true for most of the world, more than 80% of antibiotics are actually used in animals, not humans. And there's no way to regulate it. They use the atom bomb antibiotics to feed chickens, to feed pigs, to feed cows, so they don't get infected, right? Because we have these massive animal farms to mass produce the meat. And by using so many antibiotics and by eating that meat, you're almost microdosing. You get tiny little dose of antibiotics every single day.
Wow. Okay.
So think about the long-term impact of that in the gut microbiome.
Let's use this section of the podcast to draw out a guideline for non-vegetarians or people who eat meat. We're not saying don't eat it, but there's a way to select your meat better,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Let's begin with chicken, most common meat. I know for a fact that the packet chicken that you find in the supermarket, that falls under the bracket that you're speaking about, right? Now, and this is from back when I ate meat, because I'd eat chicken every day, and this is something I kind of went deep on. I asked a friend of mine who owned a chicken butcher shop where they actually pull it out of the cage and they will kill it like in front of you. I thought that that's a healthier way to eat chicken, but then I found out that even those chicken are injected with steroids and or antibiotics. I just know at that point that they should definitely inject those chickens from the wholesale farms that the chickens are brought to into the city. So that was out of question. Now in India, we have this culture of something called gouty chickens, which means it's the equivalent of farm raised.
Yes.
The chicken which are allowed to go here and there and like eat, the grass, the worms, etc. It's a little more expensive for sure, but that's probably the only safe way to eat chicken.
Yes.
Anything else?
I think the quality of meat is so much more important than how much amount of the meat you're eating. So I always ask that question to my patients when I am taking a diet history. I ask them, if you eat meat, what type of meat, what type of eggs do you buy? Where do you buy it from? Because that's going to help me understand how much of it should they be eating. It's not just saying, I'm going to eat chicken 3 times a day. Yeah, but where are you getting that chicken? Spend the money. It's worth the extra effort, the money to get high quality foods. Because what you're not seeing that's on your plate is the hidden pesticides, chemicals, antibiotics that are going to do so much more damage than just the protein you're getting in the chicken.
Can we speak about eggs as well?
Yes.
Same rules. I think you're supposed to have farm raised eggs.
Exactly. And you know the difference. You see it, right? Sometimes when you buy these commercial grade eggs, they're big, white, they look perfect. The yolk is very light, like yellow. You buy farm raised natural eggs, the egg's not that big. Egg might be different color, and the yolk is like bright orange. The nutritional content of these 2 eggs is completely different, right? The amount of vitamins, proteins, nutrients you're getting from the farm raised eggs is much, much higher because the diet of those chickens is so diverse. They're not eating soy meal as their diet. That's not a natural chicken diet. No chicken was like, I'm going to eat soy meal, right? That's processed. They want to eat the worms. They want to eat the grass. So the more variety the animal has, the more nutrients you actually get in the food.
Okay. This is why the average Indian non-vegetarian probably has it easier than a Westerner.
Yes.
Because in the Western diet, you're probably eating chicken, fish, or meat every day.
Every single day. Yes.
Here, it's like at least 5 days of just vegetarian food. Maybe an egg here and there. But you usually end up eating non-veg once or twice a week.
Yes.
So for the Indian viewers, the guideline is just be careful about the kind of non-veg you're buying. Let's talk about seafood as well.
Yes.
In India, I know for a fact that between May and September, people usually avoid seafood if you're smart about it. Or you go to a restaurant and order this fish called basa, which is catfish, which I remember again from back in the day. It's not advised to eat basa or catfish because it's a farm-bred fish, especially in our country.
Yes.
It tastes like mud because it feeds on the mud in the farms. So that's the fish I know that one is supposed to avoid in restaurants. Avoid it during the period of May to September because we have our monsoon and that's when the fish breed. It's also a more sustainable way of going about it. But from September to May, what are the guidelines when it comes to seafood?
So with seafood, just like animals, most of the fish is actually grown in farms, right? Highly confined area, lots of antibiotics are given to fish as well. So you're not immune to that. Not only that, because of the environmental pollution, you also worry about mercury levels. So we're seeing very high levels of mercury in so many fish. So people eat fish a lot. So in the US, I see this a lot because a lot of people say, I don't want to eat meat as much. I'm going to switch to seafood. Then you start seeing the mercury levels go up. And you're still just as exposed to antibiotics. You know what the crazy thing is in the US, there's this whole trend of eating salmon. Like the salmon fish is supposed to be very high, heart healthy, right? Lots of omega-3 fats, very healthy for you. That's only if you're eating wild caught fish. So salmon,
which is very expensive.
Extremely expensive and not always environmentally advisable, right?
Really?
Because we're over farming. So the problem is when you eat farm-raised salmon, if you just look at it, it looks like double the size. And farm-raised salmon actually doesn't have that pink color. It's gray. So they actually feed this chemical called astaxanthin to the salmon to give it that pink color. Most people don't know. Farm-raised salmon is gray. It doesn't look like anything like salmon. So fish are actually fed fish oil supplements, omega-3 supplements, and this color to give it that color, right? So you're not really getting any health benefits from eating that stuff. It's just as processed.
So what guideline do you give to seafood lovers?
So at seafood level, I always say go with sustainability first. Buy local as much as possible. So if it's local, then you know it hasn't traveled thousands of miles. You have better control over, is it in season? Is it a good time of the year to eat it? So always think about what's local, what's in season first. Just because salmon is all the rage doesn't mean if you're in Mumbai that you are eating salmon that's been caught or processed somewhere thousands of miles away. That's not sustainable. It's also not going to be good for your health. So seasonal, local is always the way to go.